Welcome back to the Actor Magic channel. I'm Steve, the Actor. Today we are talking about the best cards you can pull to actually win a game in Double Masters 2022. But before we get into that, I want to let you know we're sponsored today by MTG On Command. They make these really sweet 3D printed deck boxes where you can host your commander, show them off, give them a little bit of love. There's a link in the description below for 10% off your first purchase. Also, if you'd like to support me on my Patreon, much appreciated. More about my patrons at the end of the video. We're also doing some really cool proxies over there. Go check them out. Anyway, so let us get into it. Let us talk. Let us talk. Okay, so these cards are not necessarily the highest value for your cash, so to speak, but these are going to help you win the game. And as we know, that the back of the what do you call it? limited format is mostly supported by the commons and uncommons, and they're going to be at the end. But if you happen to find some of these, what I would call chaff rares, some of them are actually really great in the sealed form or the draft format. So let's go ahead and get into it. So let's start off with our Mythics. Our rares. Backdraft Hellkite is a 5-drop 4/4 flying dragon. This is whenever it attacks, each instant and sorcery in your graveyard gains flashback until end of turn. The flashback cost is equal to its mana cost, so you can basically get a second use out of your spell. I think this card, if you draft it, even if you draft it in your second pack and you've already done a lot of work to figure out what you're going to do, this is a really great way card to actually have to shift colors for, because it's getting you double value out of your instants and sorceries. It's a 4/4 flying, which is usually hard to deal with in the draft format. So really great card, but it's probably not going to be a very good card in Commander. Actually, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it could be fine. Still, it's going to get you some double value. Anyway, next up we have Bloodforged Battle Axe. If you have any way of connecting with a small creature, suddenly you're going to get a bunch of these +2/0 equipment, basically bone splitters. So for one, you get an equipment that says equipped creature gets +2/0 and equips for 2. But whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, create a token that's a copy of Bloodforged Battle Axe. This card is going to get out of control if you have even one flyer. You're going to start making a lot of copies of this card and get a really big army very quickly. Next up we have Restoration Angel, a 4-mana 3/4 flying with flash that exiles a creature and brings it back to the battlefield immediately. Is so good. Not only is this a 3/4 beater with flying, but it also lets you save a creature from a targeted removal. So they go to, I don't know, what is it? Lava Coil or something like that, I think is in the set. Then you can Restoration, blink that creature out, bring it back. If you happen to have something else that gives you some kind of value while it enters the battlefield, this is going to be super good. Next up we have Talrand Sky Summoner. I don't have to tell you that this dude is a house in draft and sealed. He is a 4-drop 2/2. It says whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, create a 2/2 blue drake creature token with flying. You're just going to get a lot of really great value out of getting a 2/2 every time you cast an instant or sorcery. You're creating a board presence, creating a threat. So good. Next up we have a Damnation. Ooh, Nation-y, damn. Please don't censor me, YouTube. Anyway, so it's a 4-drop, destroys all creatures that can't be regenerated. It's an amazing card outside of draft. It's awesome inside draft. Being able to board wipe is amazing, and we don't get it frequently enough at 4 mana. Next up, we have Mythics. So Dragonlord Dromoka is a 6-drop, 5/7 flying Elder Dragon. Spell can't be countered, which is relevant. It's relevant that he can't be countered, or she. Flying and lifelink. Your opponents can't cast spells during your turn. The fly and lifelink is going to be the absolute house part of this card in the draft format, but your opponents can't cast spells means you're suddenly not going to have to deal with combat tricks nearly as frequently. Very powerful card, and also really great in Commander. Really good. The opponents can't cast spells during your turn is pretty sweet. Next up we have Consecrated Sphinx. Another a 6-drop 4/6 flying. Whenever an opponent draws a card, you may draw 2 cards. This is going to get you so unbelievably far ahead that the game is basically over as soon as your opponent untaps and you have Consecrated Sphinx. You're just going to start winning. These cards, I think you really warp your whole deck around these 2 cards. And Dragonlord Dromoka being able to lifelink for 5 every time she attacks It's just so powerful. You're going to get so far ahead. Same with Consecrated Sphinx, drawing 2 cards. You're going to get so far ahead. Next up, we have our uncommons. We're going to kind of go in a goofy order today. Uncommons, Washout. It's a 4-drop sorcery. Return all permanents of the color of your choice to their owner's hand. This card is so good because if they have a bunch of green creatures and you put all green permanents back to their hand, it's so powerful. It's a one-sided board wipe a lot of the time. Oh my goodness, this is so good. Next up we have Abzan Falconer. I wanted to mention this card because I feel like they did really something cool here because they gave us a lot of 1/1 counter mechanics. Let me run through this one. So this one's a 3-drop 2/3 with Outlast. Basically, as a sorcery, it'll tap and put a 1/1 counter on itself. Great. It's actually really good. Each creature you control with a 1/1 counter on it has flying. Yes, some evasion built in, some way of making itself bigger built in. Very powerful. But then we have Anok Bonkin, which gives our creatures with 1/1 counters on them first strike. Then we have Tuskguard Captain, which gives them trample. They both have Outlast. They're both going to get bigger, and they're both really, really cheap on curve. Bonkin is going to be a 2-drop, and Tuskguard Captain is going to be a 3-drop. Both really great. Now we have Thrive and Relief Captain. Thrive is going to put X 1/1 counters on up to on each of X target creatures. Fantastic. Let's grow our board. Now they all have first strike, trample, flying, whatever. Then we also have Relief Captain, which is a 4-drop 3/2. Support 3. Put a 1/1 counter on each of up to 3 other target creatures. I find this to be very powerful because if you have a bunch of smaller creatures out there on 4, this fits really well on our curve. On 4, you drop this and now grow your board. You make everything bigger. Now they have first strike and trample and all that other goodness. And now they can go swinging and be way more potent in combat. Really like it. Also, we have Battlefield Promotion. It's a 2-drop. Put a 1/1 counter on target creature. It gains first strike until at a turn. You gain 2 life. It's a really sweet combat trick, especially with all the 1/1 counters we're already getting. Experiment 1, it's a 1-drop. Evolve 1/1. It says remove 2 1/1 counters from Experiment 1, regenerate Experiment 1. Very powerful card, very underrated, and it's at common now, which is really good for the pauper guys out there. I like that card. Next up, we have Militia Bugler. Basically, it gets look at the top 4 cards of your library when it enters the battlefield. You may reveal a creature card with power 2 or less from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Now, this basically gets every one of the cards in the 1/1 counter category that I've already talked about, except for the Relief Captain. It gets basically all of those and puts them in your hand. So, Militia Bugler at common, you're going to be able to have a chance to draft this thing. It's super good. Mwah. Conclave Mentor, if 1 or more 1/1 counters would be put on a creature you control, that many +1 counters are put onto that creature instead. When it dies, you gain life equal to its power. Very, very cool. So we're going to be getting a lot of 1/1 counters with this bad boy out. Or bad girl. Next up we have another uncommon. I want to mention this uncommon because it's got some real sneaky power. So it's a 5-drop 2/2. It says whenever it enters battlefield, create a 4/4 green bear creature token. For 6 mana, we're getting 6 power. I'm sorry, 5 mana, we're getting 6 power. But granted, it's in 3 colors. I'm really not high on the fact that almost all of these cards in this set are like all of the powerful cards are like multicolored and like in the 3 colors range, which makes it really difficult. They printed the Karoo lands, the lands that enter the battlefield tapped and bounce a land you control. They put them at uncommon, so they're going to be harder to get, which means you're going to have a lot harder time getting the different colors that you need for your deck. So that's Bear's Companion, but Bear's Companion can be reanimated with Alesha. Now, I looked up Alesha, like all the targets for Alesha in this set. So, whenever she attacks, you may pay hybrid black-white, so 2 of it. If you do, put return target creature card with power 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped and attacking. You're going to get your Bear's Companion back tapped and attacking, and then you're going to get a new 4/4. That isn't attacking, but still, a new 4/4 for 2 mana. It's very good. And on top of that, she's a 3-drop 3/2 with first strike. I think she's good. I think she's really good in this format. And whenever I looked up how many creatures she had targets for in the draft, I think uncommon and common, I think it was somewhere in the neighborhood of, or sorry, total, rare, mythic, uncommon, and common. I think the total that she could reanimate is like something like 45 to 50 creatures that are in this set that she can reanimate. Pretty cool. All right, next up we have comments. All right, so Annoyed Altisar. If you haven't played Pauper, This dude does some work. It's a 7-drop 6/5 reach trample with Cascade. So not only are you topping off the end of your curve with a really powerful 6/5, but you're also going to Cascade into something that's converted mana cost 6 or less and cast that from the top of your library. So good. I think that if you get a chance to see, if you're in green, you're probably going to pick this guy up. Next up, we have Winged Codal. Winged Codal is a 3-drop blue, green, and a generic 1/1 flash flying death touch. This guy is a removal spell. He's so cool. I think it's such a pretty card. And yeah, whenever you cast it, you're just going to be able to kill something. It's really cool. Next up, we have Lava Coil for 2 mana. You're getting 4 damage to target creature. If that creature would die, exile instead. Yes, please. Thank you. It's a sorcery, but it does a lot of work. Next up, we have Leave Sky Knight. It's a 3-drop 3/1 flying human knight. When it enters battlefield, detain target non-land permanent and opponent controls. This is really, really good because now you're going to remove that non-land permanent from being able to attack, being able to block, being able to activate abilities. It's very good until your next turn. Also, we have blink effects in this format, and I forget exactly which ones they are, but there's several blink effects in this draft format that will let you reset Liev after you've attacked. Pretty cool. Next up, we have Gnarlback Rhino. Okay, this guy has got a pseudo heroic. It's a 4-drop, 4/4 trample. Power and toughness and stats on a common. Very good. Okay, whenever you cast a spell that targets Gnarlback Rhino, draw a card. It's got heroic that draws you cards. I don't know if you know this, Rancor's in this format. It's fantastic. Also, I think Titan Strength is in here. Might of Old Krosa is in here. Gnarlback Rhino is going to do some work, especially with Might of Old Krosa. That's so good. But talking about things like very heroic-y, 10th District Legionnaires also got this pseudo heroic. It's a 2-drop, a red and a white 2/2 haste. Whenever you cast a spell that targets 10th District Legionnaire, put a 1/1 counter on it and scry 1. Don't need to tell you that this is going to be so fun in combat to go attacking with this young lady and be crushing faces. If you don't have any extra mana up, you cast her on turn 2. You're already going to go swinging, and she's a 2/2 with haste. Fantastic. But supposing you also happen to draw a Monastery Myths Swift Spear, this is just gravy. She's printed at common. She's a red. She's got haste. She's a 1/2 with prowess. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, this creature gets +1/1 until end of turn. It's so good. So good. But there's also there's a monk that has prowess as well in this set that's a 2-drop, and I forgot him. But he gives whenever you cast a non-creature spell, he gets lifelink. Seeker of the Way. Seeker of the Way and Monastery Swift Spear and 10th District Legionnaire, they're all at common. You can build a heroic deck at common. Very good. Next up, we have Blood Water Entity. I like this guy. This is a 2/2 for 3. Is it and 1 generic flying prowess. Whenever it enters the battlefield, may put target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard on the top of your library. If you just need that Lava Coil back, you need to get something off the board, this makes sure that you get a chance to do it. And it's a 2/2 flying that's going to get bigger whenever you get that new instant or sorcery off the top of your library. I think this guy is just so good at common. Next up, we have Mana Leak. It is back. Holy crap. At common, you have got to be watching out for somebody who's got 1 blue and a generic open, or else you're just going to lose your spell. Your really big bomb that you thought you were going to resolve, Mana Leak is going to crush your soul. It's going to be pulling all of the hope you have out of you. Mana Leak is in this format. Be aware. At common, Mana Leak is at common. This is really good. Granted, Mana Leak is kind of rough late game, but my goodness, oof, you're usually running creatures out as soon as you get a chance to cast them. So that means you're not going to have extra mana available for Mana Leak. It's gross. All right, thank you so much for coming out. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe if you aren't subscribed already. I really appreciate it. We're almost at 2,000 subscribers. I can't believe it. It's been a year, and we're at 1,900 subs. Oh my goodness, this is so great. But I'm still trying to think of what we should do for our 2,000 sub mark. I don't know exactly yet, but I do want to thank my patrons. We've got Gabby, we've got Neebs, we got Austin, we've got Cade, and now Derek. Thank you all so much for coming out and helping me. Derek being our newest subscriber over on Patreon. I appreciate that so much, guys. You have no idea. But anyway, I love you guys. I can't wait to see you tomorrow. I'm actually going to put out another video right after this talking about some of the cool things you can be doing in this silly draft format. There's some infinite combos in this draft format, which is stupid. Really dumb. All right, deuces. There's my button.